Hello everyone and welcome to Longer and Harder, the show on the internet where we take a subject and we go deeper. How are you all doing today? We have a lot of fun people in the chat today. Hello Hicho, hello Douglas, hello Micro and hashtag Heathen and WF6I. How are you all doing? I hope you're having yourselves a wonderful, wonderful Sunday afternoon, and thank you for joining us on this thing. Drunk for you, thank you. Hello Awkward Pasta, hello. You're mad. I did hear that people were giving you shit at work. I'm sorry. Hey Luke, how are you doing today? Welcome to the stream. We're gonna do things and stuff as we usually do. Let's see if we can switch on over to welcome everyone. Welcome. You don't need to be able to read. I mean, look at R&D. He's just fine, despite being functionally literate. It's true. Reading is not a required skill to do jack shit. Astro Chain is awesome on the Switch. I'm gonna go buy it, I think, tonight because it looks amazing. I do love Platinum Games. They're the ones who did Bayonetta, right? And Devil May Cry, right? I think, right? I'm gonna just keep saying right because I'm gonna assume that I'm right, and it looks amazing, and I really wanna go give it a try and whatnots. Pizza in the house. Yeah, God, I'm hungry. We might have to get some pizza going here pretty soon. So, how are things? I hope everyone's having themselves a wonderful day. Let's move on. Where are we at? There we go. Maybe. Housekeeping. Rhetoric&Discourse, would you ever share your face bald as a donation goal? I could do that. My hair, so, one, it wouldn't be a big deal for me because this hair grows back, one, there's a crap ton of it, and two, it grows back super quick, so, to be honest, it's not much of a sacrifice for me. It'll be a solid month before it's back to this. Including eyebrows. Oh, I'm very particular about my eyebrows. But I would for goals, I would. I was actually, speaking of which, since you brought it up, I have been trying to think about, I did forget to change the goals, son of a bitch. I don't remember what I was supposed to change it to, but I was supposed to change it to something, and I did forget. It was for something. It was for that book. $1,700 for a book. For a real dumb book. Yeah, $1,700 for a real dumb book. How to make $1,700 writing a book. Sell one of them for $1,700. It's insane. But well, actually, she's on the list. So no, speaking of which, I was actually thinking of ways to use my stream to actually do donation stuff. I wanted to do Special Olympics. There's a thing that happens, so it doesn't happen for a while now, where they do a polar plunge in Iowa, and you get to you donate money, and then you jump into a lake and whatnot. And it might be something that I try to do next year, so that I started earlier and I try to get pretty much for a month or something, all the super chats and donations and stuff all go straight into pretty much the Special Olympics, and at a certain threshold you get to watch me jump into this half frozen lake in Iowa, which I'm sure would be fun. If you ever wanted to see R&D shirtless, there you go. So there's definitely I definitely would be interested in trying to do a little bit more donation stuff with my channel, but I have to come up with some good things, I guess. Make hundreds of dollars placing ads just like this one. Send five to find out how. Yeah, I know, right? Oh, it's the best. It's amazing. So yes, she will be on there. Housekeeping. Couple of things of housekeeping. One, you should, if you are, there should be a link in the description, but if there isn't, maybe Micro will get it. If you haven't, or you're not subscribed to, or you don't regularly watch because we don't do it often enough, you should definitely go check out, if nothing else, if you think the idea is stupid, if nothing else, go check out yesterday's episode of Taking a Look At. It's a show that Micro and I do, along with every once in a while Geo Strebber and Smells Like E Minor and the occasional Chocolate Hat. So we do a show with them where we take a website, look at it, whatnots. Yesterday's was fantastic, which was we did Karen recovering from autism naturally, something like that. It was a great show. It was particularly fun with Micro and I doing it yesterday. I work in the field, not in the field of autism, but I work with the autism community for my job, and Micro is a biologist, so we got to tackle it from two different sides, but still kind of talk about the stupidity of any of it. So if nothing else, check out that yesterday's episode because it was a lot of fun. I think it was fantastic. So it was a good episode, definitely worth watching. So with that also goes what else was I gonna do. So that was one of the announcements. Other announcement for housekeeping. There will probably be a video today. Or today or tomorrow. I'm still not sure. Oh, thank you, Robert Laguerre. Sorry, buddy. There's probably gonna be another a video. I don't want to say today because I'm probably gonna get too busy, but maybe tomorrow. I was gonna talk about quarterings issues with Cyberpunk, but it's probably gonna get changed to Rachel Oates' new video because I'm an asshole on the internet. So that might have to happen because she's being a bit of a hypocrite, and I feel like calling her out on her hypocrisy, her double standard on things. So that might happen. So those are the two announcements of things that are going to happen soon. But otherwise, that's about it. Welcome to the show, everyone. Welcome to the show, Robert. Christ, I didn't think I said hi to you. Welcome, everyone. Hope you have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful day. Okay, with that said, we are moving on. Hobbs has decided to join us. Oh, and knocking everything around. Also, there he is. There he is. There's the good boy. Who's the good boy? What are we going to do, buddy? Where are we going to sit? How about we sit somewhere where we don't sit on my stuff, but everyone else can still see you? How does that sound? Can we find that spot? Is that going to be right there? Okay, I'll let you find your spot, buddy. Also another thing I kind of forgot to say is thank you very much to, in case you haven't noticed, there's one of those fancy foam shield things on my microphone now. So thank you very much, patrons, viewers, people who share and like and donate and all that. It's all thanks to you that we get to add shit to this stuff. It's great. What is discourse? What is discourse? Discourse is just talking about shit. That's discourse. That's what we do around here. Okay, so with that said, thank you, patrons and everyone else. And I'll show myself out a little bit more, but let's get into Beer of the Weeks before I forget. Beer of the Week. Beer of the Week, we have Everything Has Eyes by... Ooh, that got cut off there. Gotta fix that. By Cosmic Eye Brewing Company in Lincoln, Nebraska. It is a post-haze IPA. IPAs are a gamble every time. This is a gamble. It could be terrible. It could be good. Oh, good. So we'll see. We'll see how this one goes. Our post-haze IPA has a large addition of oats, which provide a smooth, rounded mouthfeel. Generous late and dry hop additions of Simcoe. I don't know how to say that word. And I spelled wrong. And I spelled wrong correctly. And I spelled and incorrectly. Cascade hops add notes of citrus and stone fruit. All the juice, none of the haze. So we'll see if this one's any good. Usually, mouthfeel is one of my favorite words. Thank you, ContraPoints, for... I know that's like an actual not ContraPoints word, but ContraPoints made it so much better. If you do a quarter response Rhetoric&Discourse, make sure to include him saying he's a grifter from the Destiny debate. Yeah, he's definitely a grifter. He doesn't care. But... Ooh, that smells like beer. That beer smells like beer. We have very beer-smelling beer. He's definitely a grifter. He doesn't care. He doesn't give a damn. That is very beer-smelling beer. That's the first description I have for it. It is a very beer-smelling beer. I already spilled some on my desk because, it wouldn't be a longer and harder if I didn't make a mess out of my desk every time. Oh no! Don't overflow! Ooh, it didn't. Okay. That's a funky ass color right there. That is hazy. Oh, here, hi buddy. That is hazy. Look at that. It's got like chunks in it too. Your camera probably can't pick that up, but it's a chunky beer. I don't know if beers is supposed to be chunky or not, but this one certainly is. You're an outcast in Wisconsin. You don't like beer? That is weird. One of my favorite things to do when I go to Wisconsin is beer tasting. I think I went to like 5 different breweries back in June when I was there. Okay, let's see. That's a weird IPA. It is very smooth. there is no bitterness. There's like just like the tinsiest little bit of bitterness. That like rounded mouthfeel thing is very, very much so true here. Mm. That is, but it's fruity. None like a none like a sweet, none in a sweet way. It's more like that's good. That's good. 6, 7 maybe. 6 or 7, still haven't decided. But that's pretty good. I like it. For an IPA, and I know I give IPAs like a hard time all the time for being IPAs. But this one's pretty good. Smooth IPA sounds like a Guinness, yeah. That's good. I like that. It's very smooth. Almost tastes like you can definitely taste the fruit. It almost tastes like God, how to put it? Like you can taste the fruit, but it's not sweet. It's not sweet fruit. It's stuff, but it's not like super bittersweet or sour fruit. So it's not like grapefruit or anything. But it's more like a really dry cantaloupe. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's good. I like it. 6, 7. I will probably keep drinking it. I like this one. This one's good. So, all right. With that said, that's the Cascade hops. That's what's doing it. I like it. This is a very interesting way to do an IPA, and I'll take it. That's great. All right. So with that said, we have ourselves our video menu. I haven't seen Cloudbot hang around yet, so I don't know where Cloudbot went. Let's see if we can get Cloudbot going here. Because we kind of need them. So with that said, we have ourselves our options for today, or video options for today. We have The Truman Show by ODD TV. We have Alpha Males by Joe Rogan. Can't Be a Flat Earther by Owen Benjamin. Free Speech by Survival Life. Global Warming by David Icke. Detox Tips by Biscuit Truth. I don't know. I refuse to like call. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce it, but we're gonna go with Biscuit Truth. And then Recovered from Autism by Karen. I think her last name is Karen Thompson. She's from a website called Recovering from Autism Naturally or something like that. I don't remember. All right, so we'll see if hopefully Cloudbot is here and Cloudbot will get you all squared away. But we'll see. Come on, Cloudbot. Show up, Cloudbot. No Cloudbot. Oh, there he is. All right, if you would like to vote, all you gotta do is do an upside down vote space the number that you would like to do, and then that will you'll get your vote in, and we will count it towards our thing. The 7 is definitely winning out so far real quick. So yeah, that's how you vote. So if you want to talk about autism, that's the way we do it. Autism is going to be a very interesting subject. So again, expertise time. That I work. I'm a behavior therapist, so I work with the autism community a lot. So not that I'm an expert on autism, but I have a fair amount of expertise in it. I don't know if it's case sensitive. I would try both and see. I have no idea if it's case sensitive. I do think Cloudbot will only let you vote once anyway, so can try both. Is a number 7 case sensitive? It might be. So yeah, but we did tackle Karen yesterday, sort of Micah and I with taking a look at what is the full name of her thing? It's God, I don't remember the full name of it. What is it? Her name is Karen Thomas. Like that's her full name, but she's also got like her website is Recovered from Autism or Recovering from Autism Naturally or something like that. She pretty much believes that autism isn't like it's a disease that is caused by pathogens, not like a brain wiring thing, but literally like you have stuff inside of you that isn't working well, and if you she does a lot of gut rebalancing, and that's one of her things. Like if you balance out your gut, naturally becoming autism. Thank you. Like if you just detox and balance things out, you can. She doesn't say cure autism, which is I guess good, but definitely goes the you can mitigate the you can mitigate the whatchamacallit, you can mitigate the symptoms of autism naturally. At least she doesn't actually go like the full like you can cure autism thing. She doesn't outwardly say that, but I'm pretty sure that's pretty much what she believes. Oh, Candida, yep, definitely got the Candida thing. I don't think this one particularly talks about Candida, the video that you all are definitely voting for apparently. But we did talk about that yesterday. Does she always say everyone has a parasite? That's another thing. I don't remember from yesterday. There was definitely some stuff on. She did, okay, yeah. So she definitely has her she's got her pet theories on autism, and none of them are wrong. So that's pretty much it. You'd be surprised at how many people think that you can get a accent symbol by pressing 2 with caps lock on. When I worked in internet technical support, several people got locked out. That's hilarious. God, I want some brain support though. So yeah, there's definitely a lot to be talked about. I will sort of. We were very charitable, and I might be charitable to her here too. Mostly because she did say a couple of like good-ish things where she did say, you know, about being supportive to people on a spectrum and things like that, rather than, you know, outright just being a dick. But that still doesn't excuse a lot of the other shit that she says. Like I said, like the gut stuff, the Candida stuff, the pretty much the like you can cure autism stuff. Like, that kind of stuff's not so good. Because they entered their password, making that assumption, they realized that their error when I had them type the password in in the username field. Oh goodness, tech is always fun. Fun tech story while we wait for this thing to wait, which is gonna be done here in a second. I had a friend. I had a friend who worked at a tech company in Wisconsin. Not a tech company, sorry. A bank. Did tech for a bank. And so every year for April Fool's Day, they usually play a prank on all the tellers and whatnots. And one of my favorite pranks that they did was they told everyone that their logins no longer worked. Like their type-in logins no longer worked, and they were going to switch over to using thumbprint scanners. From now on. They did it on April Fools, and you could use the laser from your optical mouse to scan your fingerprint so that you could log in. He had a lot of calls that day for people trying to scan themselves, trying to scan the mouse with their finger to try to get in. It was fantastic. Okay. So, with that said, we are done with that poll. So, poll winner is very, very obviously going to be number 7. So, we are, God, overwhelmingly number 7. So, we are going to talk about Karen today. So, let's get that over here and get that.
Hi there, and welcome to Naturally Recovering Autism.
Go away, Karen. I can't even hear you, Karen, because I don't have my headphones in. Okay, so the full name of the video is called Recovered from Autism Caused by Lyme Disease and Mold Biotoxin Illness. This is an interview with somebody. There is like a second person involved, obviously. And they're going to talk about how they have recovered from autism. And fuck you, Karen. Okay, so yeah, let's do the thing.
Hi there, and welcome to Naturally Recovering Autism. I am your host, Karen Thomas, and I greatly appreciate you being here and getting the natural resources you need to help recover your child from the symptoms of autism.
Maybe show the video. I could do that. That might be a smart idea. Potentially, I could see that being a benefit to the rest of you. This is Karen, by the way. So Karen has a degree in brain phrenology or something like that. Like I do an ASMR show. No, we're not gonna. This voice is not for that.
and remembering that the definition of recovery is to regain health. When my own son was diagnosed with autism in 2006, I was told to drug him and try behavioral therapies, but I didn't want to do that. I really want.
Okay. So here's and we're gonna go probably on a whole lot of tangents of things that she doesn't talk about or directly because I feel like I feel like talking about it. Your roots are showing, Karen. I get every once in a while I get into fights with people on Twitter. Imagine that, right? But one of the fights that I got into with Twitter recently was regarding regarding behavior therapy. So, in case you don't know, that's what I do for a living, behavior therapist. So that's what I do for a living. And there's definitely a contingent of people who have a problem with behavior therapy. And to a certain degree, I don't blame them for having a problem with behavior therapy. Behavior therapy has, especially applied behavior analysis, which is what I do, does have a very sketchy history. Like, not gonna lie, early applied behavior analysis was super sketch. But there's also, I mean, that's kind of true of a lot of medicine and a lot of science. Like, it's kind of sketch at the beginning, and then we now have ethics boards and whatnots, and we don't do a lot of that shit. But things like electroshock therapy and conversion therapies are all sort of kind of based off of ABA principles. And that's because that's kind like the science the science doesn't tell you oughts, and it doesn't give you a moral thing to do or not. It describes things. That's what science does. And so in predictable fashion. So conversion therapy does work, and there's a way to make it work. That doesn't make it anywhere near ethical or anything that you should do or anything that anyone should advocate for. And it still also causes a lot more harm than it actually like, just because it works or it masks symptoms of being gay. That doesn't actually mean it's a good thing, like, or that it's like, yeah. So it describes it, but it doesn't. Science itself doesn't actually say you should do it or shouldn't do it. You should definitely not do conversion therapy. Conversion therapy is awful. Just don't do that. I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying that there are sciences to that do this. Mike was bringing up the next side to scientific racism, eugenics. There's all these things. Science is, there's people are assholes. People do science. Therefore, scientists are assholes too. Like, sometimes, scientists do a lot of assholey things, and it happens. That doesn't mean that you should abandon that science just because it's got a soiled history, because pretty much all science is like that. There isn't a single science that doesn't have that. Okay, so. I still love how we discovered blood groups, and the first thing we did was use explaining why whites were better than Asians. Exactly. It's pretty much it. That's pretty much, yeah. That's how scientific racism or scientific racism exists, is because, or phrenology or any of those things. That's why they exist. Okay.
I wanted to find out what the causes were of the problems, not just mask symptoms, especially with dangerous drugs. And my background as a craniosacral therapist.
Okay, craniosacral therapist, and I do remember I do remember looking this up, so I'm going to again, for the funsies of it. We're gonna try to look this up again. Oops, that's not on the right one. Let's get. Oh, no, go away. Why aren't you why aren't you doing the right one? Oh, is it this one? It is that one. Okay. Cranial. What did she say? Cranial. I'm gonna have to listen to you again, but she said a thing that's really dumb, and we looked it up yesterday.
Therapist of, at that time, over a decade now, was diagnosed with autism in 2006. I was told to drug him and try behavioral therapies, but I didn't want to do that. I really wanted to find out what the causes were of the problems, not just mask symptoms, especially with dangerous drugs. And my background as a craniosacral therapist.
Okay, cranial. I don't know how to spell this other one. Cranial sacral. I don't know. Cranial sacral therapy. Cranial sacral therapy. Here we go. We found it. Here we go. Cranial sacral therapy. In case you were wondering what her background is. We didn't look it up. I know what it was already. Okay. So here it is. Cranial sacral therapy is a form of bodywork of alternative therapy, which on its own you should stop right there. If it says alternative therapy, you know what's going on. They uses gentle touch to palpate the sinoethereal joints of the cranium. It is based on the fundamental misconception about the nature of the human skull and promotes a cure-all for a variety of health conditions. CST therapy was invented in the 1970s by John Upledger, an osteopathic physician, as an offshoot of cranial osteopathy, which has been devised in the 1930s by William Greiner Sutherland. CST is a pseudoscience and is practiced quackery. Medical research has found no good evidence that either CST or cranial osteopathy confers any health benefits, as they can be harmful, particularly if used in children or infants. The basic assumption of CSTs are not true, and practitioners produce conflicting and mutually exclusive diagnoses of the same patient. Okay, so yeah, it's pretty much pseudoscience. So we got that out of the way. We know that bit. Practitioners of CST claim to be effective treating a wide range of conditions. Something claiming it is cancer cure or a cure-all. Ooh, you can't cure cancer by rubbing someone's head. That does not seem like a reasonable idea there. I gotta make some of these things better sizes. I think I should. I'll remember to do that for next time. So yeah, it's bullshit. There we go. Nice little thank you Wikipedia for showing it was bullshit. I most appreciate it. It's just a skull massage. It's just a skull massage. It's true. Oh no, I saw a chiropractor adjusting a newborn child. It was terrifying. That would be the worst. Oh my goodness. Ugh. Okay. So there you go. So that's where her expertise comes from. So trusted expertise there.
At that time, over a decade now, for 30 years now, I knew the brain could heal, and I wanted to figure out how, and I wanted to do it naturally.
Show up late and phrenology. Yeah, we went so it's not, she doesn't call it phrenology, but it's pretty much sounds like it is phrenology. Not gonna lie, that's probably what you're engaging in, lady. Some sort of phrenology. Okay, so sorry if I keep switching screens. I'm trying to find the right screens here. I saw this kind of skull massage in Game of Thrones. Oh, okay. That's a Game of Thrones reference. I don't know because I never watched Game of Thrones. I kind of went through the first book, but not the whole way through. So if you make Game of Thrones references and or spoilers, I'm not going to get them. Okay.
And so I began researching on my own. I very quickly found that a lot of doctors and people, even well-meaning, just did not know what my son needed to get better.
So, just as a clarifying statement, in case you don't know, there is no cure for autism. That is not a thing. So, you are asking the wrong question, Lady Karen. Hello, Miss Snarky. Hello, Objectively Subjective. How are you all doing today? So yes, there's no cure for autism. That's just. So you're asking the wrong question, Karen. You can't cure it. I'm sorry. I'm not really sorry, but I'm sorry that you think that you can, right? Um, so instead, and a lot of this stuff, which is why I brought up sort of the behavior therapy bit a little bit ago. Um, it's not about masking symptoms, right? It's not, which is what you called it, masking behavior therapy and drugs. It's not about masking symptoms. That's not the goal. Um, and I know a lot of people say it that way, where they think behavior therapy or drugs or whatever, or about making not the individual's life better, but making those around them, their lives better. And to a certain degree, one could argue that it's true, but it's definitely about trying to make the individual's life better. Especially when it comes to behavior therapy, a lot of what we do in behavior therapy is focused on the individual. So we have this term called socially significant, which are for behavior. So behaviors that are socially significant are behaviors that limit someone's ability to fulfill like a life that they want to live. Stemming comes up a lot, and my recommendation for stemming is, unless it's actually harmful, there's no reason to stop it. But if it's harmful and it leads to the individual not being able to actually live a good life because they're in danger, or they might potentially hurt themselves or others, then it's worth changing that behavior. So that tends to be one of the ones that have it. If you'd like, I'm gonna ask Micro to do this because I know he probably has the link. If not, I will try to find it in between things. There is, if you're interested in sort of the ethics of behavior therapy, or the ethics of treating or providing treatment for, again, not for autism, but it's hard to put it into the right words, treatments for autism. If you're interested in the ethics of that, there's a really great article that I kind of mentioned yesterday. That's God, I also don't remember the name of it, but it's okay. I am gonna have to look it up because I don't remember the name of it. I kind of shared it somewhere. Someone shared. Bo Hobel shared it for me. That is called. Where are you at? Here we go. Balancing the rights to habilitation with the right to personal liberties. The rights of the people with developmental disabilities to eat too many donuts and take a nap. So that's the name of the article. It's a peer reviewed article that has it talks a whole lot of really great things about ethics, and trying to balance people's rights and whatnot. So it's very, if you're interested in the subject of treating autism. Again, we're not actually curing it, but treating some of the symptoms. There's a great source. Okay. I got disqualified for being a Wisconsinite earlier. It's true. You don't drink beer. That's a little weird. I'm not gonna lie, because Wisconsin's a wonderful state. I love it. It's a beautiful state. If I ever get a chance to convince my wife to move again, I will probably try to push her to move to Wisconsin, because I truly do love that state. That's where I went to college. It's so much fun. But like, one of the things that they do really well is make good beer. So it's you're not enjoying one of Wisconsin's main exports. If you love it so much, why don't you just marry it? They also have cheese. Cheese is also delicious. uh, okay. So I'm making like a mess out of myself here with beer. Okay. But with that said, we'll listen more to Lady.
And so I realized that it was going to be up to me. So I, again, started researching, spent now over a decade researching. Today, my son is fully recovered from his symptoms of autism. And now I share those.
So he's not. And this is one of the, researching, right? So your son is not actually recovered from the symptoms of autism. What you have at best, what you have done is done the same thing that you were worried about other people doing, which is that you have masked the symptoms of autism. You haven't actually gone around and you masked them. Potentially, and sort of, again, best case scenario, your son has learned some coping mechanisms that work really, really well for them, and they are doing a great job at masking their autism. That doesn't mean it's gone. That doesn't mean that their brain is now not wired differently than neurotypical brains. It doesn't mean that they don't feel the same things that they did before. It doesn't mean that they don't experience the world in their own way like they did before. You have not changed that. Living their stress is objectively sinful. Thank you very much, objectively. I do appreciate that donation. It will. I never showed myself, but currently all donations are going towards a goal of. I don't know where our boobs are. Our boobs aren't here. Currently, all of our donations are going towards me becoming smarter. So, shilling myself in the middle of a rant. I am. There we go. I am working towards paying for a stupid test that I have to take called the GRE, so that I can apply for grad school. So that is currently where all the money that you donate goes to, is for me to become a smarter individual and get a master's in psychology, because that's what I do and want to keep doing for a while. So so thank you very much for helping thank you very much for helping the channel out with, or helping me out, because it's personal improvement rather than channel improvement. So thank you very much. Okay, so yes, either way, you are now, you have convinced yourself that what you have done is cure your child or cure the symptoms, but what you have really done is you have really either taught them, or they have learned how to mask their symptoms. That's it. Oh, it's Red School. I thought it said Bread School. That's how it all goes. They give two instead. I know high. I know some high achievers. It is a very stupid test. It is a very, very stupid test. Mostly because nobody cares about my score. That's why it's stupid. It's stupid because nobody cares what my score is gonna be. They just care that I take the test. They care more about my writing sample and my resume than they actually do about my test. That's annoying. Super fun stuff. Okay, so with that said, we'll move on. See what else Karen has to say here.
Natural resources with you as a parent, so that you can get your child better and know what to do. And I've created a free workshop for you, an online workshop, where you can go to naturallyrecoveringautism.com/free workshop. And that's no spaces, just free workshop. And I go through the 4 stages, which are
I'm potentially, if we get bored enough of this video, that might be something we look up, is the free workshop, because that would be quite interesting.
healing the gut, natural heavy metal detoxification, clearing the co-infections of Lyme, mold, PANS and PANDAS, or strep, and parasites, which we're going to talk a lot about today also. And then the 4th is brain support and repair. So
okay, so none of these have to do with your brain. Well, like the last one has, I guess, potentially something to do with your brain. So so I forget, the first one was curing the gut. I don't know how to tell you this, Karen. Your brain, it's up here, not in the gut places. So doing things to your gut isn't necessarily going to do things to the not gut parts. Now that's not entirely like true. Like good diets, help your brain and all that. So it's being slightly hyperbolic, and the pedantic people in the world will be like, no, a good diet can help your brain, and then you're right, it does. But that's not what I mean. She means like something entirely different than what I'm talking about. The other one, of course, is Lyme, the detoxification. So the heavy metal detox, which I think that's when she does the process that sounds like cicadas, and I can't remember the name of it, but it sounds like cicada. To again get rid of heavy metals. Sure, yeah, again, not a thing that you shouldn't do unless you're trained in it. And then getting rid of parasites and her fungus and Lyme disease or whatever. Again, not how any of those diseases work. Those diseases have nothing to do with brain stuff. They don't mess with your brain. I mean, some parasites do, but I'm sure that you're not talking about those parasites, because you seem a little dumb. And then the last one being the brain support and healing. That is the one that the last time I read it, I kind of gave her like this probably way too much benefit of the doubt about what she meant by brain support. And I was like, yeah, if supporting the brain or the mind is a good idea, and being supportive is good. I don't think that's what she means. So, also EDTA isn't exactly natural. It's true. Uh, okay.
Again, you can get that at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/free workshop. And then today, a lot of parents do ask, can children really be recovered from autism? They wonder if that's real, and it's happening not just for my son, but for many children around the world. And today, I'm very fortunate to have Brian DeShore with us, who is now 17 years old. But when Brian was 18 months old, he was diagnosed on the autism spectrum.
Bullshit. Bullshit. I'm gonna call absolute bullshit on that one. There is no reliable diagnosis for 18-month-old. That is you now. Now I'm getting angry at you, lady. I mean, like, not like I wasn't before. That's a bunch of bullshit. There is no reliable way, and yet, because there are I have been told there's new people are working on a new assessments for autism that are that have to do with like the way your eyes move and whatnot, that I've heard of, but I don't actually think that it's been approved or that it's past like the initial stages of this might be something we could do. We're not there yet. Karen, you cannot diagnose, and because autism, the only way to see autism, there's no like physical, at least not easily visible physical manifestations of autism, right? There's no you can if you have a person on the spectrum and a person who's neurotypical next to each other, and you just have a picture of them, there is no physical way for you to tell that one has autism and one doesn't. There's no blood test. There's no real test to do that, other than behavior. So we usually when you actually do testing for autism, you usually test behaviors. And you can't really start doing that until like 3 years old. Anything before that is kind of sketchy because people have hit different milestones at different times, and some hit them faster, some hit them slower than others. At around 3 years old is when you can start actually seeing some of those behaviors that are indicators of autism. There's a reason that it takes like there is no test before 3 years old that currently exists in the market that actually diagnoses that. Parents often give autism diagnosis dates in the age range because it's shortly after the first MMR jab. Yeah. Looks like it cannot be tested till 7. Yeah. So there's there's just there is no test for this that you can actually do. We will probably get to the point where we can do brain scan stuff to predict the likelihood. Yep, and I there are there isn't like a genetic cause for autism. There isn't a gene that you can be like, oh, this gene is here, or this gene is turned on, therefore you're gonna have autism. That doesn't exist. But we are working on ways to evaluate the role that genetics plays on autism. So we might eventually get to the place where we can see genetic markers that say that you might be predisposed to be on the spectrum. And in that case, but that would be what the test says. It'll say this individual is predisposed to autism. I'm pretty sure you're still not going to be able to see it until much later, because it's usually a behavioral thing, and not just it's not just a thing that you can test. This isn't a virus. This isn't cancer. You can't just do a scan and be like, yep, autism. So right off the bat, Karen is full of shit. Mostly it makes me wonder if the individual, I forget the guy's name, maybe she hasn't said it yet, but if the individual was actually diagnosed with autism, and it really makes me wonder if that actually happened, because she has such a crappy awareness of how autism is diagnosed that I don't actually know if he was actually diagnosed properly, or if this was another brain phrenologist or whatever her thing is, who made the diagnosis, and then if it was a quack that made the diagnosis rather than an actual doctor or somebody who is trained to do it. All right. Oh,
And it took his mother, Dr. Jody DeShore, it took her many, many years to find, traveling all over the world to find the natural resources as well to get Brian recovered from his symptoms of autism. So Brian is going to share his story with us today and give us some insight about what it feels like to have autism and his recovery process as well. And Brian, just so you know a little.
I, I'm gonna, I'm gonna take slight issue with the age of your. Not that teenagers can't. Not that teenagers can't articulate how they feel, and not that I want to be dismissive of them, but we should always kind of take teenagers' experiences with a grain of salt. Um, I there's so much I don't know about this. I don't know how much whether he was actually diagnosed with autism or not. If this is just a story he's been told over and over again, hey, you've been diagnosed with autism. I also we're not gonna know level of functioning. There's so much missing from this, and I'm not gonna be able to make we can none of us can make a judgment on the kid. So I would just suggest that we take everything with a nice helping of salt before we take him at 100% at his word.
Bit of background on him. Again, I mentioned he's 17 years old today. At 18 months old, he was diagnosed with autism. A few years later, he was actually in so much pain, and his pelvis was deteriorating from some of the Lyme disorders and things that he had, and he'll talk about that as well, that he ended up in a wheelchair and spent 2 years of his life in a wheelchair. And now, fast forward many years, he has recovered from his symptoms of autism.
I mean, he sounds like he's recovered from his symptoms from Lyme disease. I don't know Lyme disease. I don't know what the symptoms are of Lyme disease. Might have to look those up. But it sounds like Lyme disorders. Yeah, it sounds like he might have recovered from Lyme disease, and not necessarily autism. Your pelvis doesn't get destroyed by Lyme disease. Should we look up Lyme disease? Let's look up Lyme disease. Real quick. Like we'll go over to Lyme disease and see what we can find. Nope. Where's my Lyme disease page? Did I shrink it? I did shrink it. Bam. Okay. Lyme disease. Okay. Lyme disease is a bacterial infection you get from the bite of an infected tick. The first symptom is usually a red rash, which may look like a bullseye. But not all people with Lyme disease have a rash. As the infection spreads other parts of the body, you may have a fever. Any other symptoms that I can find here? Fever, headache, body ache, stiff neck, fatigue. Lyme disease can be hard to diagnose because many of the symptoms are like those of the flu and other diseases, and you may not have noticed a tick bite. Your healthcare provider will look at your symptoms and medical history to figure out whether you have Lyme disease. Lab tests may not always give a clear answer until you have been infected for at least a few weeks. So, okay. And then, of course, antibiotics and whatnot, which I'm sure that Karen here does not approve of the use of antibiotics. So yeah, there we go. Quick history on Lyme disease. Now we know what it is. Sorry if I keep, again, switching the camera, but I'm trying to get to my chat. Lyme disease infects your nerves. Oh, it does. That's good to know. All right, here we go.
He is now on a quest to become a medical doctor and has developed a website. It is teenlymehub.com, where he offers support group for teens with Lyme's disease, mold biotoxin illness, PANS, PANDAS, and Asperger's syndrome. And everything on today's show, I will create a page for and link to at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/Brian. It's BRIAN. And so you can get some of those resources. If you're driving your car right now, or you're out, on your morning walk, you'll be able to go back and find Brian's website as well on that page. And
maybe he will learn how wrong he was in his medical training. That's true.
Where you can get the resources that you're needing. So Brian, thank you so much for being here with us today. I greatly appreciate your time and you sharing your message with us.
Yes, no problem. I'm glad to be here.
So you were diagnosed at 18 months, and it started out that you woke up one day in a lot of pain with a lot of motor tics and not quite seizures, but a lot of just overall body pain and inability to contain your motor skills. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so
big disclaimer: R&D is not a doctor. R&D is not allowed to diagnose autism. So do not listen to R&D about this. As far as I know, none of those are symptoms of autism. So I don't know why you would think that was a diagnosis at 18 years old. That sounds like a disease, potentially Lyme disease. I don't know entirely how to diagnose that one either. But definitely from what I know of diagnosing autism, that wouldn't be one of the things that would actually be diagnosed. Yeah, R&D is a doctor. He's just lying. Listen to him.
can you just share with us a little bit about what that felt like for you? And
sorry, I'm mostly amazed that you asked how you felt at 18 months old.
and kind of what the process was just after that.
So after the pain, okay. So after the pain, what happened? Well, let's start like what happened before, because we need some context here.
Yeah, start at the beginning.
So I'm going to start way back when I first got my vaccine. So a week or two after the DTaP shot, it's a type of vaccine, I had reacted with fever, rashes,
$5 says we get to anti-vaxxers soon. We'll get there.
and stomach upsets. And then slowly my language wouldn't progress. It started deteriorating in a sense. And that's what my mom would tell me.
At 18 months old. You one, remember this. Two, oh god, at 18, what milestones have 18 months old hit? I don't know if they've hit speech yet, like actual conversational speech, right? Where I think by 18 months old we're still at the single word sentences, probably manding. That's a year and a half. So I'm very curious. Like, you might not have hit some of your milestones. That's probably true. That's what my mom tells me. Says a lot. I can't imagine that this guy actually remembers anything from 18 months old. I really wish I still had some of my books, my earlier books from psychology, because we talked about, we do in child development, we talk about some of these milestones. Pretty much at what age do you still remember shit? From 18 months, that is fucking young. I think this is definitely one of those things that you have been told this story over and over again, and a lot of it isn't lining up. I don't want to be too dismissive of you, buddy, but it sounds like a story you were told. It does not sound like you were ever actually diagnosed with autism, mostly because you couldn't have at 18 months old. You couldn't have 17 years ago. You can't now. You definitely couldn't have 17 years ago. So I just it makes me question it.
Earliest memory I have about my language skills is about 1.5 years of age, where my good friend Mika, who I've known pretty much before we were born because my mothers were in Lamaze class together, and they've remained best friends ever since. Our family spent a lot of time together. So she was very curious about my new roller coaster toy and wanted to try it out. However, it didn't really work out and she fell down. So I'm trying to console her, and instead of saying "uh-oh, fall down" like I would say now, I said "uh-oh, fall down" with FAW. And that was a little bit embarrassing, and because I was saying it completely wrong.
But I feel like an asshole. I truly do feel like an asshole. Right now, because I'm about to say a couple of things. One, it sounds like you're reading. It looks, sorry, it doesn't sound like it. It looks like you're reading a script. Which, again, with some of the other things, it makes me question it. It really makes me question whether you are whether you are genuine or not. I don't want to say that for all I know, and this is why I feel like an asshole about saying this. For all I know, you have difficulties speaking publicly, speaking in a forum like this, and I don't want to be a dick to you. And this is a tool that helps you be able to communicate better, right? And maybe you wrote this out ahead of time, knowing that this is something that you have a hard time dealing with, and so I don't want to be an asshole to you if that is the case. But considering everything else, I'm gonna be an asshole and say I get the feeling this isn't really true. But that's just, I get the feeling that this is a story that's been written out for you to read and to pretend like you did do, and nothing else. Also, the mispronunciation of words at the I can't. I am a very old adult that can't pronunciate anything correctly. So mispronouncing things at the age of 1.5 is not usually a big deal. It's usually just like a consistent behavior. If it's something that usually happens consistently, is when we have a problem. If you like I said, there's certain milestones that you hit, and if you're not hitting them at sort of the right pace, then we start kind of questioning them. Like, you start with single word manding, asking for items, moving on to sentences, how complex your sentences become, and things like that. And if you're not hitting those goals, that's when things get a little iffy. Mispronouncing things, it's not a thing that you really have to worry about too much.
This was with other words as well. Until I was 4 years old, instead of saying pizza, I said tzatziki. And I don't know why I said tzatziki. I just did.
I say pizza, and people give me a hard time for it.
And you had trouble with word recall.
Yeah, I had trouble with, or not like word recall, or just figuring out what the thing was. I had trouble associating, really.
Okay.
So it was just bizarre and embarrassing altogether. So I just stopped talking. And I had a vocabulary of 2,000 and more words. I've been regarded as well-read by multiple English teachers throughout my years.
So this is okay. So we're way past the. You're not 18 months old at this point, obviously, because you've had multiple English teachers. So this is very. Your timeline is kind of, again, what makes me question all this. Your timeline is getting kind of wonky, because if you've had multiple English teachers, we're way past being an 18-month-old kid, right? We're definitely into school.
I became an introvert and really kept to myself, occupied with books and videos. When I was 2 years old, instead of wanting to speak like most people.
Okay, stop. Okay. I am starting to get upset about this, mostly because I'm starting to think that I'm getting more into less feeling like an asshole about calling you out for this. You just said that you had 2,000 word vocabulary, right? And you became an introvert after you started fucking up, even though you had multiple English teachers who told you that you were well-read before the age of 2. So you're somehow telling me that before the age of 2, you have had multiple English teachers that said that you were well-read, and then you became an introvert afterwards. I don't think you know what 2-year-olds are like. I don't think you know. You are very much so convincing me, person on the screen, that this has all been scripted and you're just supposed to read this, and none of this makes sense. I'll be an asshole with you. It reeks of bullshit. This very much so reeks of bullshit. None of this lines up. This is, if you're gonna say you had multiple teachers who regard you as well read, that's a middle school, high school kind of statement to say. It is not a. This was when I was 1.5 years old. I had multiple teachers that I was well read and had a 2,000 word vocabulary. I don't know a single 1.5-year-old who could have a 2,000 word vocabulary. There are those. How big your vocabulary is one of the milestones you hit. You are way off here, my friend. This is sounding very sketchy.
I learned how to read. I learned how to read English. I learned how to read music. I learned how to just read things, but I really couldn't speak it. However, whenever I read, I really understood the words. I knew what the word meant. I knew how the word.
You were not reading at 2 years old. You were not. You were not reading at. It's not how reading works. You were not reading at 2 years old. That's a bunch of shit right there.
Was, but I couldn't really string it together in a sentence or understand it, the context of the thing. So it was really more I was just reading just to understand what the book was. So, and I could also play piano, but I wasn't really good because I had weak muscles and I had flexible joints and I got fatigued pretty easily. So I really couldn't retain.
At 2 years old, remember, timeline-wise, I'm making everything shake, I'm sorry. Timeline-wise, at 2 years old, you were not this person, I'm sorry.
That information. But from
Sheldon, oh, can we talk about the Big Bang Theory? Real quick. Okay, Big Bang Theory story. I watched, okay, so I was on a cruise, whatever, week ago, right? Was on a cruise ship. Cruise ships obviously don't have cable because you're in the middle of the ocean. And so what they do is they download videos and then they pretty much stream them onto your TVs, and so you end up watching like the same episode of whatever show multiple times. They had like Friends. They had one of them was a Big Bang Theory episode. By the way, I dislike the Big Bang Theory. I think it's a terrible show, but that's besides the point, right? This was actually a good episode, which I guess is the point that I dislike the Big Bang Theory. But this was actually a really good episode. Not because it was funny, not because of anything like that, but because it was an episode about the plot A, or the A plot or whatever, was about the fact that I don't know Sheldon's friend's name. I forget his name. The other super awkward nerd. He was supposed to be. He was supposed to have returned this video for Sheldon, this like VHS for Sheldon to, or DVD, not VHS. They're not that old. This DVD to somebody, right? There's like 4 of them. I don't know, the one with the glasses. I genuinely don't watch this show. I just know that this was the thing that happened. He was supposed to return a DVD, but never returned the DVD. And so at some point or another, Sheldon found this DVD, like it got brought up, and Sheldon was upset, and it was like, hey, you said you were supposed to return this DVD, and mostly he was like, it really bothers me to have incomplete tasks. And this was a task that should have been completed, and it bothers me a whole lot. And Sheldon described it as having an itch in his brain that he can't scratch. And in order to help the friend dude with the glasses, I forget the guy, friend dude with the glasses, understand this, he had him, he made a deal with him that he should wear this like uncomfortable itchy sweater. Leonard had to wear this uncomfortable itchy sweater until he completed this task. He had to complete this task first, this task of returning this DVD or paying for the fee to the owner. And then it turned out that the DVD store had gone out of business, and there was no way to complete this. But Leonard had to do this while wearing this itchy sweater and couldn't take it off until he completed it. And it was a really great analogy about how some people's brains work, that and how mostly about how dismissive we are about the way that people's brains work, that we think people are overreacting or people should just get over it. But Sheldon made a really good analogy and made someone else kind of literally about as literal as you can get, walk in his shoes and understand what it's like to have this kind of weird urge or anxiety to have his task completed, that neurotypical kids, or not even neurotypical, but others might not understand. And it was a really clever way to help empathize with people who think differently than the rest of us, people who especially, I don't know if Sheldon's been diagnosed with OCD, but it sounds like he has OCD. And to empathize with, this OCD is more than just being weird. It's about the fact that it's actually genuinely bothersome. How neurotypical of you, I know. I watched it, but I think it was a major character show because people aren't like that. Yeah, so this is like the only good part about the show. I've watched several episodes of Big Bang Theory. Don't actually think that I actually think it's a good show. I think it's a terrible show. I think it's absolutely garbage show, and I'm sorry if you like it, but I think it's garbage. I just thought that this was a really good analogy to help understand the way that different people think. And I do like that Sheldon kind of took a stand and just like, this is how I feel, and I want you to understand. I want you to understand how I feel and how it makes me feel when you're dismissive of my weirdnesses. All right. Globus. I probably have misspelled something somewhere. Yeah, it does say discuss. It does not say discourse. I am the worst. Hello, Unirock. How are you? I probably have missed a whole bunch of. I did see Bjorn come by. Hello, Bjorn. Thank you everybody for being here. Unfortunately, Unirock, you showed up right at intermission, so we are gonna have a bit of a break. I feel like you always show up at intermission. We're gonna have a bit of an intermission. Stick around. We'll talk more about autism. We'll talk more about how you cannot cure autism no matter how much you try, and about how Lyme disease doesn't cause autism. Yay! Things that are sort of like basic science. We're gonna talk about. So, stick around. Enjoy some royalty-free music and enjoy some fan art while you wait. I'm just gonna get a quick beer refill and just take a break real quick. We will be right back. Have fun. All right, everyone, and we're back. Gonna go enjoy a little bit more of I forget this guy's name, talking about how he used to be autistic and now isn't. So, because that's the way that works. People who showed up. Hello, Lisa Butterfly. How are you? Welcome back, or welcome to the show. I'm not sure if you've been here before. Welcome, welcome. Are you the same Lisa that I follow on Twitters? I hope you are, because if you are, you're awesome, and I do love all your tweets. You're fantastic. Okay. With that said, more autism things. Before we go though, I always forget to show myself. I am going to show myself. Super chats are on, and you are always more than welcome to donate. Super chat does give you some free boobs and butts because we are sexist assholes around here, so we do get to have those. But it also helps me. It doesn't give you that, but it also helps me. There, in case you haven't noticed, the goal, which is what we're gonna trying to get a little smarter. I'm just going to help pay for a test that I have to take called a GRE, which is in order for me to be able to apply for grad school. So it'll help out with that. It'll get paid for regardless, but it will help with the cost. All of this will just kind of go towards paying for that test. And then I can go to grad school, and then I can be smarter, and then these shows will hopefully get better because I'm less of a dumbass. That's kind of the point. Will they actually improve, though? That is very, very highly questionable. I'm taking the GRE. I should schedule it. I haven't scheduled it. I really should. But I do have to take it. Thankfully, the program that I'm applying for doesn't actually care about my score. It did just want me to take it. So I'm just going to take it. I'm not going to bother to study. I'm just going to try to do my best and then take it and then be done with. They care more about my resume, which... thankfully for me, because I work for the university medical center, so the department that I'm actually applying for is like upstairs, and so they know me and I know them, and so it should be pretty easy to get there. For me, hopefully, I'm not, who else? Oh my goodness, thank you very much, #themes. All the wonderful people who are donating today, I do greatly appreciate it. For the tests, good luck. Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll have a good time with that test. It will have to be like a Saturday thing, so not that that'll affect times or whatnot, but it will be a Saturday thing. All right. I don't know how long it'll take for boobs to show up. Hopefully soon. But until then, we'll listen to a little... Oh, there they are. So thank you very much for that super chat donation, and they are always wonderful. They know you, and they still want to hire you. I know, right? It is amazing. All right. With that said, we will move on to listen to more of this guy who is questionably was autistic at some point or another. Very highly questionable background for this guy.
Preschool to elementary school technology has been a big staple in my life up to this day, and it really helped me make new friends. As long as I had a video game or other video games at home and other newer gadgets, people would always want to talk to me.
So you had some speech, but it was limited. And did you still speak, or did you actually make a choice to stop speaking altogether because you were embarrassed to speak in front of people?
When I needed to speak, I would speak, but I really would restrict it most of the time.
And that was mostly because of your own just personal feelings of discomfort around not feeling like you were confidently speaking.
Yeah.
So I guess we moved on to high school.
Interesting. It just makes me wonder about other children and how many, choose to stop speaking because they feel the same way. Or speech is just too difficult.
This is something that I think is probably worth touching up on. Probably a lot. There are probably plenty of kids out there who don't express themselves as well or as much as they probably want to. They probably don't express themselves in like this is a genuine point. Like there are probably lots of people who genuinely have a hard time expressing themselves, and they end up becoming introverted or stop speaking because of their inability to do it in a way that's normal. I say that with a lot of air quotes if you're just listening and not watching, with a lot of air quotes on that one, with like normal speech, and that's not okay. That's really not okay. One, speech therapy should be more easily available to everyone because it is an important thing that we all need to have. Um, it's a way that we communicate. So speech therapy should always be available and should be made available much at a much more affordable rate, and people should have access to it. And then second of all, we should stop being assholes to people who can't or have difficulties communicating. Right now, the one and this is important, I think, right now specifically because this happened this week, where this one lady was given a really hard time by a bunch of assholes on the internet. Imagine that. Because she's speaking out against or speaking out for making changes in order to help mitigate the damage of climate change, and she's once not speaking in her first language, two is, I think, if I remember right, on the spectrum, and so she kind of stumbled her words and was having a hard time communicating, and people jumped on her inability to communicate like almost immediately as a reason to dismiss her opinion. That's a bunch of bullshit. Like that's the kind of bullshit that needs to be called out. And it's probably the kind of bullshit that I feel like Karen here should be advocating to be stopped, because I just got a picture of a cat sent to me too, which is, I think, far more interesting than Karen. All right, Karen.
And was that speech, as a craniosacral therapist, I'm thinking about, there are cranial nerves that feed out of the temporal lobe of the brain, and the temporal bones are often faulted out of balance in children with autism, and so those cranial nerves can affect the ability to speak, the ability of the tongue to work properly, the ability of the brain to get the message out. So, and I know that you've been through.
I don't know brain stuff enough to know if you're right or wrong, Karen, but I'm gonna assume that you're wrong.
Multiple therapies at this point as well, but maybe so you stopped speaking unless you chose to, and then what else happened from there, and how old were you at this point?
So I was about preschool age, which would be about, I think, 5 or maybe 4,
Okay.
about that age. But afterwards, at 6 years of age, I was at baseball practice one time. I was really good at sports back then.
Is it like not having your head screwed on all the way? I don't know what her thing is. I mean, her thing is like the weird, like, we're gonna push on your brain place, and if we push on it the right way, it'll get better. Your brain will get better if we push it the right way. Is kind of, that was her expertise, or what the field that she's in is brain squishing therapy. God, that's a thing. Oh,
Even though I didn't really talk, I used to run around football fields in, I don't know, 5 minutes. I was pretty fast. So I was trying to run to first base. My left leg just started to drag, and the coach had to call my mom, and I had to go home. So I was in bed for about a day, and when I woke up the next day, I was in insanely burning pain, and it really hurts. It was not a good pain at all. So
again, I was just talking about not talking, but I also think you're being scripted, not good pain. Don't be an asshole, R&D. You just said not to be an asshole about people who have a hard time talking.
my mom, since she's a naturopathic doctor, she did a thorough evaluation and couldn't really find a reason for this state of my left leg. And it was in my left leg for about like 2 months that suddenly shifted to my right leg, and we're like, why did it shift? But
He wanted that good pain. Oh god. We talking pain, or like exotic pain, or asking asking for a friend. Um, okay, your mom's in on this nonsense, which is not surprising. So your naturopath mom um couldn't figure out why you were in pain by probably not using sciency things but using woo things. Couldn't figure it out. Okay.
my mom's good friend, an orthopedic surgeon, is from Harvard. So we traveled to Boston. I was given a large battery of tests, nuclear body scans, MRIs, CAT scans, you name it, and 20 tubes of blood. And these tubes are not like the tiny lavender tubes that you see when you get a blood test. They're about these big tubes, the big red ones, which on for lab tests. And as a result, I was given a wheelchair.
And as a result, so I know that your mother has told me, we work together a lot. I utilize her proprietary herbal formulas in my program, which I'm very grateful to her for letting my active members.
So we figured it out. We got there. It only took us. The time is 1:30. It only took us an hour and a half to figure out why this guy's script. Why this guy sounds like he's reading a script. It's because he probably is. I am now more than ever convinced that you were never diagnosed. You're not just. I'm gonna give you a hard time, person. But I also kind of feel bad for you because I feel like you're being used by your mom. Your mom's the one who probably wrote this. Your mom works with this woman, with Karen. Your mom is probably the one who wrote exactly what you should say, and you're probably not actually telling us how you do feel. And while I'm going to give you a hard time about it, I do also feel kind of bad for you because you're being used. Your parent, it sounds like, at least, you're being used to promote this idea that you can cure autism, and it's really not. It's really not okay. She sells proprietary herbal formulas. Your mom sounds like she's into this woo as well. So Karen and your mom are probably, working you here. Not gonna lie, buddy. They're probably working you to say the things they want you to say to promote the garbage that they sell. I wouldn't be surprised if in the middle of this that Karen stops and says, "Hey, if you want some of this proprietary herb stuff, click on my links and buy that shit." It's just, it's a little sad. I genuinely hope that, well, because I don't actually think you were diagnosed with autism. I just think you're just a teenager that's being kind of used by Karen and your mom.
Use because she knows that they need guidance with these. It's very important. But that you had actually had multiple, and I believe it was 10 different blood tests prior to the one where they finally found that you had Lyme's disease. You had 10 other tests that came up negative that you did not have Lyme. So,
and hey, that was actually a thing that we actually talked about, which was that it can take, what did the website say? Let's go back, because we did actually read it. You may or may not have noticed your healthcare provider will look at your symptoms, medical history to figure out whether you have Lyme disease. Lab tests may not always give a clear answer until you have been infected for at least a few weeks. So, I'm pretty sure that Karen is trying to use this as like a scary boogeyman kind of thing. Like, oh, the doctor should have known right away that you had Lyme disease. But that's not, like, even if it's Lyme's, then it's Lyme, not Lyme's. Even if it is Lyme disease, you're not gonna find it right away. Like, this is a known thing. So you're like boogeyman, like, the scientists couldn't figure out that it was Lyme disease is kind of bullshit. Because, yeah, they couldn't, because that's not how Lyme disease works. That's several years in human terms.
even though your mom had been trying to look into this, the tests kept coming up negative. So then you thought, well, maybe he really doesn't have it, even though he had the symptoms. That's why we also tell some parents now, if it doesn't come up positive in the test, watch for the symptoms, because if you're working naturally with it, you don't have to worry about putting in something that is going to be detrimental, but it can work at getting rid of these issues that are very commonly underlying. And those co-infections can be why a child doesn't get better. They'll plateau at a certain level, and a parent might think, well, that's maybe about as better as my child can get. And it usually has to do with these underlying co-infections still existing, why somebody doesn't get better. So they finally found out in one of your tests that you did have Lyme, correct?
Yes. So just to give a little bit more information about the tests. Mm-hmm. So Quest and LabCorp, those Lyme disease tests, use the ELISA test, which is
I mostly just want to stop to point. Watch his face. I'm very much so convinced that this guy is actually genuinely reading a script at this point.
A test, but it's not as specific as others. So as a result, I took the Western blot test, which is a lot more specific than ELISA, and it takes a lot more time to come back as a result because, it's more specific. So we got the Western blot test back, and it showed my Lyme as positive, along with other co-infections such as
Oh, Micro's having a fit over there. I don't know what any of these tests are. I get the feeling that Micro's probably going to tell us here fairly quick in the chat. I have absolutely no idea how any of these tests work, so I'm an idiot. Western blotting takes like 2 days. Well, there you go. Is Western blotting a more specific test or a more general test? I guess is the real, like, that was his excuse, right? One's more specific, one's more general. Depends on how drunk you get while you're performing it.
hands, Bartonella, Babesia, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, Mycoplasma, Epstein-Barr, and strep. And that is a lot of viruses.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically how we figured it out, based on this lucky break from the Western blot.
And I know that because your mother's told me that you contracted Lyme in utero, which a lot of parents aren't aware of, that you can actually, a mother can give the fetus, the baby, Lyme's disease in utero. It's a contracted disease, can be there. Or
Lyme disease is an infection caused by the bacteria Burgdorferi Borrelia mayoni. Lyme disease tests measure Borrelia antibodies in the blood. Okay, so not viral, unlike what you said. I'm not biology. I want to say that doesn't sound true. Like, getting Lyme disease through utero doesn't sound true to me, but you know, what am I? This is all I can find. If you get Lyme disease during pregnancy, it may cause problems for your baby, including certain birth defects and stillbirth. Alright, so that's the most I can. It sounds like a bunch of horseshit. It just sounds like a bunch of horseshit. Again, not a doctor, definitely not anyone who's familiar with biology, so probably full of shit. Don't listen to R&D. But quick Google search kind of is contradicting you. Also, you keep saying Lyme's disease, and also you've had a lot of other problematic statements, so I wouldn't be surprised if this one was bullshit along with the other one. So, you know, you don't have a very good case, is what I'm saying, Karen. Karen, your case is shabby. You should stop.
Or it can be also contracted through breast milk from the mother. It doesn't just have to be a tick bite, but we're also finding now through mosquitoes and fleas and head lice, which children exchange at school, that those organisms are transferring this disease as well, these bugs.
Yes, that's correct.
So then you found out that you had Lyme, and then what did they do?
So when they found out I had Lyme, what I basically did was that a lot of medications had made me better over the span of time. So what we started with was antibiotics: Augmentin, Mepron, Rifampin, minocycline.
Yeah, I guess Lyme. There's a lot. Unfortunately, we're getting into the parts of this video where I can't necessarily speak to it. Citation needed is probably a good way to go for it. Lyme disease is transmitted by specific ticks, not by head lice. I would need her to actually back that up. I can't. I don't know enough biology to say things confidently, but I'm sure it's out there. I have a weightlifter for my shoulders since I sent you this image. Sure, it took a freaking year. I'll get started right here. What? Okay. Reading heat shows comment. Makes no sense.
Very powerful antibiotics for 6 months. But those weren't doing the trick, mainly because, well, it's just antibiotics. Stuff is going to become resistant over time. So we saw Dr. Stephen Buter and Dr. Julie McIntyre, who put me on an herbal protocol, as well as Dr. Klinghart, who helped me with his holistic protocols. This combination...
Yes, the bacteria in you becomes... Yeah. It's not... Antibacterials aren't effective because they become resistant over time in your body.
...of multiple medicines over periods of 3 to 5 years put my Lyme disease into remission, and my mold started getting better too. So a little bit more insight on the mold was that it happened after we cured we didn't cure, but we put the Lyme disease into remission and got rid of most of the other co-infections. And
yeah, I do think he just said mold. I don't know where the mold came from. You kid, I feel like you have bigger problems in your life. Oh, we're gonna do the candida thing.
then the mold started showing up in the blood tests. So Mom researched a little bit more and spoke to Dr. Shoemaker. And turns out the mold biotoxin illness is actually a genetic issue that I had, and so did my mom. So it was passed down to me. And
okay. Okay. Not gonna lie. Took off the glasses because I'm gonna like facepalm probably. Not gonna lie. Know nothing about biology. But I'm pretty sure mold is not genetic. Like outside mold is not a genetic issue. Like that's like mold is a separate organism than you, and your genetics doesn't affect other mold, and okay.
there were also some methylation mutations, basically processing the methyl end of most macromolecules. So I basically
No, there's no genetic cause for mold. I mean, it's that occurs in the body. Maybe that's what they... I don't know what, like... So I can think of a couple of ways why, like... You know, you might be more genetically predisposed to react differently to molds. Like, I could see that being a thing. But it's... I'm just... Okay. No, I don't think he does understand what he's saying. I don't think he knows what he's saying. I don't... Dude, person, maybe like an autoimmune thing. Yeah, like you just, you know, you can't deal with mold in a certain way or whatever, you know, just sort of the same way that you can't, you know, you might be genetically predisposed to that. But that doesn't mean that your genetics affects mold. Like, my sister had mold growing in her lungs, but not on her brain. Really? In your lungs? Eee, that's gross. my lungs are grossed out by that thought. I'm sorry. I'm sure it was awful for your sister, but I'm really grossed out by it.
we got everything in terms of the genetic roulette. I got the 1 in the 500 chance, you know?
Well, and you know, you're a sensitive individual. It's sort of the canaries in the coal mine, and then you're more susceptible to other toxins in our environment that we have today. You know, electromagnetic field pollution, pesticides in foods, and you know, contaminated, you know, things that are in our water sources. I mean, there's so many environmental toxins. If you already have sensitivities and susceptibilities, your body just basically can't take too much more. And so,
toxins like stupidity. Again, I don't want to be too mean to the kid because I'm like convinced that the kid himself isn't the one saying this shit. I'm pretty sure that it's Karen and his mom that are saying the stupid shit that's coming out of his mouth. Like, it's not the kid. I would actually be very curious to see to hear the kid's words himself. I kind of feel slightly bad for him. Like, I don't think any of this is his opinion. I think Mom said I should read this with Karen, and it sounds like they're friends. So, like, he is, if nothing else, the victim of this weird abuse going on here. But that's just me being probably maybe far too generous than I should be, but you know, I am.
Yeah, it also keeps you ill. So it's a matter of creating that strong foundation, strengthening the system, strengthening the gut, working with all of that, and then, you know, moving through the detoxification process on your own timeline, and then the co-infections. So, and we also mentioned, you mentioned antibiotics, And antibiotic, and we'll talk about MARCoNS, which is an acronym for an antibiotic-resistant staph infection, staphylococcal infection, that gets up in the nasal passageways and is quite dangerous. And it's so close to the brain, the blood-brain barrier, so that this infection is up there. But if
So Greg is sleeping on the couch, is staring down at him. Good. What is a co-infection even supposed to be? I would actually I don't. Micro probably knows this. I really should have had Micro on here. Micro, give me a call on Discord, and you can rant as much as you want about this too, because Micro is much better at the biology part of this. I'm better at the psychology part, which I know brain is biology. But Micro is definitely much better at talking about some of this other nonsense. Micro, you should call me on Discord and I'll add you to the show. Because as I get a phone call from microbloganism. All right. Let's see if we can get this fixed. I don't know sure if Micro can even hear me. I can't hear you, Micro. So things gotta get fixed. Let's see if we can get things fixed for Micro, because he has Micro. I'm fairly. I can hear you now, and I'm fairly sure everyone else can. Okay, say a thing. No, the chat can't hear you. Oh, no. No one else can hear you but me. That's troublesome. That is very troublesome. How can we fix this? I mean, you can say all the things. You can say all the things. So, okay, let me try one more thing here. Special guest microbloganism is going to try to explain all this nonsense for us. Let's try that. Say a thing now.
A thing.
Oh, there we go. I think now everyone... I'm gonna have to lower your volume. God, you're loud. I have to put a noise gate on you, I think. But you should be good.
A lot of people have to do that.
But there we go. All right, we got microbloganism. So hello, welcome to microbloganism. Having a show with me. Microbloganism is here to explain to us some of the silly sciencey things.
At least try.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a medical doctor or a microbiologist. I don't know. Like this isn't. I kind of know some of these things. Oh, now I can see the video. That helped.
Yeah. So okay. So.
I'm not actually sure how that helped.
I don't know either, but now you can. So tell us a little bit about why some of the things that Karen, the lovely Karen, has said is bullshit.
Where the fuck do I start? I mean, so like co-infection just means that you have like multiple infections. Like usually what will happen is, like, for example, in HIV, AIDS is technically a bunch of well, not AIDS itself, but like all the things that kills you in AIDS, all the other infections are technically co-infections to the HIV.
Right. So the main infection lowers your T cells, and then your body can't.
In the case of in the case of HIV.
The main infection lowers your T cells, and then it's everything else that really kills, whatever. It's the flu that kills you. It's not really the HIV.
That was just like a good example that probably a lot of people know. Like that would be technically co-infection. It just means like you have multiple infections, and usually like the most severe one will be like the one you're treating, and then you call all the other ones co-infections. Okay. Just like
so in this case, the main infection is going to be the Lyme disease, and then the co-infections are I don't know mold, what the mold.
It's the molds and parasites. When they say molds, they mean candida. They mean yeast.
Oh,
almost certainly.
Okay.
So
yeah.
So in terms of like the two tests, ELISA and Western blotting. Western, they're both tests that you use to detect proteins. They're both based on, well, ELISA can also detect other things. But like it's both things where you're using antibody, like it essentially like at the end of the day you're using antibodies for some protein or something to like detect if it's there.
Okay.
So it's,
So
it's
is
just
this like
it is that, I mean, there are actual tests. That is
Yeah.
two ways you would test for the some of the relevant proteins that you would test for like finding out some have Lyme disease. That is how it works.
Okay.
Like that is how you're done.
So is this like the HIV test? Because we don't actually, when we do like a test for HIV, we don't actually test for HIV. We test for T cells, right? Because we can't actually look for HIV. The virus itself.
Well, no, you can look for
Can
HIV.
you? Okay.
Yeah, you just like have an antibody for the viral proteins,
Okay.
and then I mean technically, technically speaking, like a pregnancy test
Mm-hmm.
is sort of an ELISA, kind of.
Because you don't
Like,
actually test for pregnancy itself, but you test.
No,
for
you
the...
check you test for the hormone that's released during pregnancy.
Yeah.
So you have antibodies on the strip.
Yeah. I learned that from Godzilla.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where they use a test that's meant to detect the human version of hormones of the hormone to somehow test for a giant lizard.
But they did mention that it tests for hormones and not actual pregnancy, like it tests for different hormones. I do. That is like the one thing that I remember from that movie is the slightly crackerish but still accurate sciencey bit where it's like we test for hormones, not for like an actual baby. I do remember that. So, yes, just so you know, giant lizard DNA or hormones are equivalent to human hormones. All right. Anything else you got on you'd like to?
There is so much stuff. He talked about having like the mutations in like he said he had methylation mutations, which what I think he means is that he has mutations in some of the genes that code for some of the proteins that is involved in the methylation pathway, which is like a biochemical pathway that's kind of important in converting certain vitamins into each other and a lot of other things. And most of these mutations are actually harmless.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the few cases where there are people, like you can get these mutations where it actually causes symptoms, but the symptoms are nothing like autism or anything. They're literally just that you end up with a deficiency in certain compounds because your body can't convert one thing to another. And the solution is just to like you take that as a supplement and then you.
Okay. So, so we can listen. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it if I play the video.
Let's find out.
But either you hear it here, or you should turn on the stream and hear it there. One of the places, but you might be able to hear it. I don't know for sure. But we'll listen to a little bit more of this and see what else Micro has to say about it.
You're treating it with an antibiotic.
No, I can't. If you should be able to. No, you're on a Mac.
And I'm on a Mac.
Yeah, so which means that I'm pretty sure that means you can't screen share with sound in Discord.
Yeah.
Because I can do that on Windows.
That's right.
So I can't hear it. I heard myself. What the fuck? Are you there?
Hence the term antibiotic resistant, then it's not really going to take care of the problem.
Now I can't hear anything.
Never mind. Don't know.
I can hear you now.
We tried. All right. So yes, you might have to hear it on the stream because I can't quite figure it out. There's probably a way, but it'll take me time.
Great.
So turn on the stream and just listen to.
I have.
All right.
problem. So that's where these proprietary oral formulas are absolutely key, because you're able to work with these things on a different level so that you can actually help get rid of them. And I know that that infection, that bacteria, drops down through the sinuses into the mouth, and the teeth are very much affected by it. The bacteria eats away at the teeth. So a lot of these kids with autism, although they're also very mineral deficient, and that's often due to a lot of these co-infections and lack of absorption.
So again, I don't know much about Lyme disease.
Well, she's not talking about Lyme disease here. She's talking about some antibiotic resistant, I think she said staphylococcus.
Ah, okay.
So, but I mean...
Okay. So co-infections are an interesting thing. And we kind of touched on it yesterday when we talked a little bit about autism. Because there's a lot of, not necessarily disease, but there's a lot of things that are related to autism. The one that I think I brought up last time is there seems to be a correlation between autism and transgender. I don't want to call it ism, but transgenderism. So potentially,
I mean, that's a word. Like,
okay, good. So there are definitely so this isn't like entirely out there, because there are a lot of diseases that do have like co diseases that sort of tag
comorbidity. Well, I think it's probably wrong to call it a comorbidity when it's like we're talking about being transgender, because it's not a morbidity. It's not like it's not a disease in that or disorder in the same like. So I'm not sure, like co-occurrence. Let's just call them co-occurrences. That's neutral.
Works for me. So
the actual like people in the chat can, if they can think of a better word, please let me know.
So these things do co-occur, and we know this about a lot of different disorders or diseases, that they do co-occur with one another. So one happens, you're more likely to get the other one, kind of thing. I don't exactly know what teeth thing she's talking about.
No. What she's talking about here is that she's saying that this what's the word? Like the antibiotic resistant staphylococcus thing she's talking about, that it eats away at the teeth. She's essentially like, but the weird thing is she's framing it as if having the that it's the actual antibiotic resistance in itself that makes this bacteria dangerous. I mean,
so it's not the bacteria, it's the resistance part.
But she's framing it as if it gets more dangerous because it's antibiotic resistant. Which, yeah, it does, but it's not because the bacteria in itself gets more dangerous. It gets, it's because you can't treat it.
Yeah. It's not a Pokemon. It didn't evolve into a stronger version of itself.
Actually, a lot of, not always, but in a lot of cases, when bacteria get antibiotic resistant, they actually become less virulent, because they obviously have, in order to avoid being affected or killed by the antibiotic, they have to do something else. They have to find some shortcut or prevent the thing from happening. So they usually actually become less virulent. But it's not universal, and there are, I think, a few cases where virulence does go up. I'm not entirely sure in this case. But this hasn't she's framing it as if it becoming antibiotic resistant is what makes it more dangerous.
Yeah, and it's not. It doesn't actually become more potent or better at being a disease. It's just harder for us to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not. It's the same disease. It still does the same nonsense as before. All right. We'll listen to a little bit more, and then we're almost done with the show. But we'll listen to a little bit more.
Absorption from their food that they're eating, because of their gut issues. but that their teeth really suffer as well. A lot of teeth problems. So this can help with that as well. So you started using then the herbal formulas, and the timeline too, that where you were really sick and really, you know, on the autism spectrum to now at 17, it's just been a few years ago that you say you feel like you fully have gotten to the recovery level. Yes.
Yes, about 3 years ago when I started high school, I feel like my brain just exploded with knowledge and I just started getting really good at everything for no reason, like 8th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade. I was
No, really?
Hey, so there's
Nothing happens when you go to high school.
Nothing happens.
No other kid has ever experienced anything happening to them during the time of high school.
Yeah. So one of these, and one of the things that we kind of touched on yesterday, and you brought up was potentially people just not just get better, but learn better coping mechanisms and just grow as individuals, because that's what we do. We grow as individuals, especially at this age.
Kids aren't just tiny adults.
Yeah. And especially when you get to that the high school, middle school part, your brain changes a whole lot. That's why they tell you not to drink and shit, because that affects your brain growth and whatnot. Not growth, but changes. And so your brain goes through a lot of changes at those point in your life. So potentially this might be a correlation without causation thing, where this kid who was before an awkward kid who had a hard time speaking hit high school, hit middle school, and
started the early stages of puberty, and then
like that in and of itself. Puberty changes you so much from being a child to being an adult, that in and of itself might have been the only thing that really changed as he went through puberty. I'm still very doubtful that this kid was ever diagnosed with autism, especially at 18 months old.
I think his mom probably
yeah, from the sounds of it, it sounds like it was his mom that diagnosed the autism. It wasn't like an actual doctor. It was this lady who has her proprietary herbal formulas or whatever.
Love that it's proprietary.
Don't you be stealing it now.
Like she's like it's the fucking recipe for Coca-Cola.
Only 2 people know the recipe. It's this kid and her mom, and that's it. But yeah, so there's a good chance that I'm not convinced that this kid was actually ever on the spectrum. And I know that might sound harsh, but I from watching him, listening to him read his script, and from the fact that his mom works with the quack that is interviewing him, I have very high doubts that he was actually ever diagnosed.
If it is, it does seem like it's like, I don't think he was at the severe end of the spectrum.
Yeah. And that is also another possibility. He might have been on the milder end of the spectrum, and then again, as people grow and learn and do all that stuff, they learn coping mechanisms. They learn strategies for how to communicate better or how to express themselves or whatever. So he could be on the milder end of the spectrum and just sort of learn to cope with it. I have met plenty and know plenty of adults who weren't even diagnosed until much later in life, until their late 30s, 40s. And not because they didn't have the symptoms of it, but because their symptoms were mild and they learned how to cope with them on their own, that diagnosing them just wasn't a thing that needed to be done. So in case you don't know, like for the audience, in case you don't know how diagnosing works, one, we don't usually... a lot of people don't get diagnosed, and my hypothesis as to why a lot of people don't get diagnosed is if you're not having problems, no one's gonna pay attention to you.
Yeah, if you've learned to cope with it on your own.
Yeah. So if your autism makes you just sit quietly in the corner of the classroom and get your work done without interacting with anyone else, you might just be that awkward kid that nobody talks to. But because you're that awkward kid who nobody talks to, you're not going to get diagnosed. However, if you're the kid who is having a really hard time standing still and runs around the classroom and hits Susie and Sally, then you're more than likely going to be the one who actually gets gets the attention and then gets the diagnosis.
To be fair, Sally and Susie are bitches.
They were horrible. That is true.
They deserved it.
So you know, it's not every parent just
Fuck
goes.
you, hypothetical people.
Yeah, so if that's how you learn, you know, you can learn on your own to have your own coping mechanisms or have your own strategies for how to get through school, how to get through life, and you may not get diagnosed until much later because you don't outwardly show those symptoms. And so potentially this kid might have been on the milder side, and his symptoms as a elementary school kid might have been so mild that nobody kind of paid attention to him, and then he just kind of not necessarily grew out of it, but his coping mechanisms became so good that they're like indistinguishable.
From an outside perspective, he grew out of it.
Yeah, from an outside perspective, he grew out of it, and that doesn't mean that he did. The inside bits of him are different. The inside bits of him are still probably the same, and he's
inside bits. Such technical language.
I know, right? So inside, this kid is probably still the same. If he was ever diagnosed, which highly doubtful, but if he was ever diagnosed, the on the inside, this kid is still the same. It's just outwardly he appears to not be. Oh goodness! All right, I think with that we're gonna end the show. It is just a little bit past the 2-hour mark.
Yes, it is.
And it was wonderful. It was so much fun. Thank you, Micro, for stopping in and helping us out with some of the biology. Again, I'm not a biologist, so half of this stuff just like goes right over my head. And I can only really talk to the psychology part, which I know your brain is biology, but still, I know it from different sides. But with that said,
I have learned to accept that you're wrong.
All right. With that said, thank you very much, everyone, for being here. I truly appreciate you all hanging out. If you have not gotten a chance, do go check out Taking a Look At. It's a show that Micro and I do every other week or so with a couple of other people. Geo Strebber, Chocolate Hat occasionally, and Smells Like E Minor. Wonderful show. We find a woo site, we check it out, we read it, and just laugh at all the nonsense. It's great, loads of fun.
Also, we're fucking 12-year-olds.
We are. If you think that I'm immature now with all the boob things, then you have no idea. Go check it out. You'll have fun.
We literally have a show that had what. So one of the jokes we'll do on Take a Look At is like change the title, like make it something edition afterwards.
Yep.
After the actual title.
Yep.
That we usually come up with during the show. We have some of those are like for fuck's sake, the one from yesterday is called is something like the edition is something like the sex autism virus.
The sex,
something like that.
Because that was pretty much what was being talked about. And someone it asked for a link. I'll try to get the link there, but or Micro's on it. Someone's on it.
It's in the description.
Mike, okay. Yes, it is in the description of this video because it is in the description of all my videos. That show. So, if you would like to join it, the channel is in the description. Please go check it out. It's a lot of fun. Especially yesterday's was a lot of fun. It was fantastic. So do check that out. Also check out Microblognism. Microblognism does have his own channel. And he every once in a while, as I look at the watch that I don't have on my hand, post a video.
It's in a couple of days. It's been a year.
Yeah. So, but do check him out. He does have the videos that he does have are fantastic, and they're a lot of fun.
Once R&D gets around, then mine out of my channel.
Yeah, I think at this point the next Microblognism video will be on my channel. I think that's probably what's gonna happen. Probably at the rate we're going. But
thanks, Mrs. Snuggy.
Yeah, do check him out. And somebody did ask about my shirt. My shirt is Become an It's from Harry Potter.
Oh, it's
an obliterator from the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Oh, it's It's a loot crate thing.
Yeah, it is a loot crate thing. As you can see, there's a lot of loot crate stuff on my walls.
Not anymore.
No more.
Yeah. All right. So with that said, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you hashtag Heathen. Thank you Objectively Subjective for your super chats. Always appreciated. Thank you for helping me become a smarter person. We will get there eventually. We will stop being idiots around here. But microblognism, you can check yourself. You can say. I'll let you have the last bye, and then we'll scoot out.
Bye.